Thanks very much, John. I've never really thought there was anything very brave about walking through a lobby to vote for what you said you would do in the general election. It's always seemed to me relatively straightforward. I think I just want to talk about three things really. First, the people's vote. I think in campaigns, slogans, names, a lot is given away by the specific language that is used. People's vote is the most curious campaign which bears some study. It begs the question, people who want a people's vote, who they thought voted in 2016 in the first referendum. What kind of creatures voted then? But it's slightly more serious point than that. I think that they know that people voted, but from the day of the 2016 election, those people who've remained Remainers or anti-democrats, as Paul said, have effectively denigrated those people who voted to leave. At best, they were stupid, they weren't voting for anything to do with the European Union. They were angry people, dispossessed in the English regions, or they were racists. Anybody who doubts the language that is covered up by this should go and read the Guardian blog pages, where people are told to get back to their hovels and poverty-stricken terraces in the north of England and regions. And that's really the motivation by the more extreme elements in the Remain campaign. They don't accept really the validity both of the vote and the people who voted to leave. I think in terms of the campaign for a second referendum, I think the classic Labour Party fudge tomorrow has killed off the campaign. It is whatever dramas there are in the Commons this October, November, December, January, February, or whenever, I think that it will be sorted out in Parliament and or by a general election in the classic constitutional way of the United Kingdom, because there is simply no intellectual case for a second referendum. The people who are making it are actually carrying on with Project Fear and the arguments that were defeated and roundly defeated in 2016. And all the leaders of the party, I was there and spoke in the second reading debate that set up the referendum, the debate that implemented Article 50 of the Lisbon Treaty. Labour Party spokespeople, Tory Party spokespeople said they would adhere by the decision of the referendum, and when Article 50 was passed, I think there was one Labour MP who voted against it. How can you want a second referendum when you don't implement the first referendum? When everybody said it was now out of the hands of the politicians, Hilary Benn stood up and made a rousing speech saying, this is not the politicians' decision, the decision will be yours. That's what virtually every Remain speaker said, the decision is yours, there's no going back, turn out and vote Remain. And now they're trying to turn it back. It is not politically or intellectually a credible position, nor is it likely to get through the House of Commons. There is, as Paul said, and I won't repeat the figures that Paul gave, there is real electoral peril for the Labour Party in supporting a second referendum, not just because many Labour voters and ex-Labour voters voted to leave, but because it assumes that everybody who voted Remain has the same contempt for democracy that those people who are arguing for a second referendum have. And my just casual talking to people and debating with people, that isn't the case at all. Many people just want the government, want Parliament to get on with getting out as the people have decided. They don't have the same contempt for democracy. And I would say to Labour Party members and comrades at this conference who are arguing for Remain, that the Labour Party has a pretty sordid and poor history when it comes to debates and positions on the EU. When the country voted to stay in the common market, the Labour Party and the trade union movement was strongly for leaving, and we were out of tune then with the public. Now, when the country has voted to leave, we're in favour. The leadership has nearly always got it wrong with the electorate. Kate and I went on my own, I went with Kate, I went with other people to talk to Ed Miliband before the 2015 election and said, we will lose the election, Ed, if we don't promise people a vote. The Tories will promise people a vote and they will get their UKIP voters back. We need to get our UKIP voters back. And we didn't, and we lost. We lost. The only Labour leader in quarter of a century to lose to a Tory majority leader. And I can still hear Ed saying to us, it's tragic, as we were leaving, he said, I do not want to spend my first 5 years in number 10 Downing Street dealing with a referendum. Well, we're spending a lot of time dealing in opposition with a referendum where we could have been in control of what we did. So the Labour Party, because I don't know quite why, it prefers the bureaucracy in Europe to the electorate here, has got the position wrong time after time again. And I actually think that Jeremy and John have an instinctive understanding of where our core support lies on this. I mean, they've voted with Kate and I on many occasions on European issues, and I think they're in a difficult situation with particular responsibilities as leader and chancellor, and effectively the two most important people in the shadow cabinet. They've got particular responsibilities and they're dealing with that well. I want to deal finally with the argument that it is often put, because it is better to deal with it head on, because it is the strongest argument, or the argument put most strongly to be more precise, that those people who want us to remain say that leavers, it is just a plot by right-wing free marketeers who want to get rid of all environmental protection, workers' protection. Well, certainly some of the people who voted to leave have those views, and in a democracy they have that right to have those views, that they want a different structure to society. What I would say is I believe that we have to have those debates, discussions, and the Labour movement has to win elections where we move to the sort of policies we fought the last election on, the sort of policies we will fight the next election on, the sort of policies that John MacDonald outlined in conference today, and to win those arguments. What is often not said in those debates, that while Delors, which is Delors' speech to the 1988 TUC, his speech where he said, forget about Thatcher, we will protect workers. Delors was genuinely a person of the left, and he delivered something on social Europe. But social Europe is dead. It has switched from social Europe into global Europe. And so the EU is now the playground for multinationals. Poland and I are usually the only person ever to mention it, but we've had rulings from the European Court of Justice on Viking and Lavelle, which have undermined workers' rights. Those people who think that the EU is a bastion against multinationals just have to look at Volkswagen and the defeat devices which has poisoned all of us. Capitalist United States, Volkswagen have been fined a fortune. In the United Kingdom, not a penny. No protection, and one can go on and on. It is estimated that at the last Labour manifesto, there were 16 items in that manifesto that would not have been lawful under European law had we won. So I think We've got to fight with the right. That is the nature of democratic politics. And it's a fight we need to win. What is not understood is that the EU is not protecting workers' rights, it's undermining them. It's done disastrous things. Austin would tell you at length more than I could about the disaster that the EU has been on fishing and the environment. It is not protecting us. It is a bureaucracy that is undermining many of our rights and fundamentally is anti-democratic. And I prefer to trust in the people of the United Kingdom to get the decisions right. They don't always get it right, sadly, but to get the decisions right and to have that debate and to make those decisions here. That's what the debate is about over the forthcoming months. It's about democracy, honouring a referendum and the future of democracy where we can decide our own policies.
Thank you.